because we have a lot of things rolling around in our head, but it's where we take our goals out of our head and we really put them down on paper, right? And in self-motivation, it really starts to kick in when we go through this process. When we go through this process of planning and taking our all this stuff out of our head and we really start to create that blueprint and we put it down on paper. That process gets us excited about where we want to go, about what the future holds. And here's a key. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. We don't just drift to a desired destination by accident. So we have to be able to measure the right things as it applies to our business. And if we can't measure it, it's really hard to manage it, right? And so there's four cornerstones of your blueprint that I've come up with. And think about those four cornerstones using the acronym STAR, S-T-A-R. So the word STAR. And so the first cornerstone is your strategic analysis. And I'm going to touch on what I mean by each one of these four aspects. But the S, strategic analysis, the T is your targets and your goals. The A are your activities. And then the R in STAR, that's your reality check, because we have to have a reality check. And I'm going to touch on all four of these. So when you think about your strategic analysis, that's really, really critical, because if you think about where you are today and where you want to be in 12 months, the space between those two places, between today and next year, that's the gap. That's the gap in your business. And so we have to have a strategic analysis as we run our practice, as we run our business. Targets and goals, that's all about where you see yourself in the future. And so why is that important? It's important because that process, it will build anticipation and it'll provide the motivation you need to stay the course, to keep moving forward. The activities, the A and STAR, the activities, that's really where the heavy lifting takes place. So when you think about your overall blueprint, where does the heavy lifting really take place? It's the activities that you have to commit to engaging in every single day, every single week. And it's those actions or those activities, when you engage there, it will drive you towards the desired results that you want in your business. And so what activities, and we have to think about this, what activities should you deploy consistently in order to meet those productivity goals that you have? Because it's not the result, it's the activity. The activities that you engage in will drive you towards the desired outcome that you want. And then the R in STAR is reality check. Why do we need a reality check? We need a reality check because that's going to hold us accountable as we go forward. And so what is accountability? Think about that one word. Think about accountability as ownership. That's what it is. And accountability is your willingness to own your actions and your results. If we boil it down to its most simplistic form, that's exactly what it is. It's ownership. I'm going to I'm going to own my actions and my results. And I'll open it up here in a minute for a question or a comment. I don't want it to be an hour lecture, but sometimes if we open up the entire line, it gets kind of chaotic, but I want to hear from you as well. And so, when the why of your business is clear, the how gets easier. So when we know why we're doing what we're doing, when we know why we're taking certain actions, the how gets so much easier. And so I think I put in your outline how important is a mission statement. It's really important because a mission statement is what you believe, and so I'd ask you, what is yours? It's important for you to have one. And if you don't have one right now, that's okay. But it's something that we need to work on, because sometimes your customers and your clients are going to ask, or that's something that you can share with them. Why are you doing what you're doing? What's your mission about how you're running your business, how you're running your practice? It's really, really important to have one. Another thing that's really important is your unique value proposition. And what is it? So if you're in front of your next potentially great prospect and you're talking to them about your your position in the market and how differentiated you are in your approach to running your practice, and you share with that prospect your unique value proposition, how would you articulate that? So first of all, what is it? Because today people don't buy what's the same, they buy what's different. And so you want to have a differentiated value proposition that you can articulate clearly. And so I'm going to stop, Silas, there for just a second and take a thought on that. I'm not going to put anyone on the spot in terms of articulating that, but do you have one, number one? And then how would you articulate that to me if I'm your next potentially great prospect? Because those things are important. They're really important as you continue to think about running your business and going forward. So what is my unique value proposition? Do I have one? And if I have one, how would I articulate that? What is it? Anyone have a thought or a comment on that, or a question?
Cliff,
Yes.
when I'm meeting with a client, I always tell them that our goal in our office is to treat them like family members. And then I qualify it by saying I like my family, so don't be
Yeah.
alarmed. And then secondly, and they say, well, how about your mother-in-law? And I love her too, so it's all
Yeah.
good. But then I always see there's four things that my goal is with a client. One is that I don't want you to overpay in a good year, and you have several good years in your life. Secondly, is I don't want you to go bankrupt in a bad year. Number three is if you like your providers, we can make sure you can see your providers. And the fourth thing is I want you to know enough about your coverage so that you can retire and not look back. And typically that covers most of the people's bases that come in our door.
That's huge. I mean, right there. This doesn't have to be some, long drawn out thing, but what Gary shared there is powerful. It's something that your customers, your prospects, your clients, they can literally put their arms around. We want to meet them where they are, as much as we possibly can. Meet them where they are. And so, some of you that are newer at this, you may not have that unique value proposition right now, but you need to have one. What is yours? Because it's got to be yours. What is yours? And then how would you articulate that? That should become part of every dialogue. Every single time you open up a new opportunity, you should share with them your differentiated, your unique value proposition, because you'll start to rise above the noise. There's a lot of noise in your business, in your industry. And so what you want to do is you want to enhance the relationship you're having with some of your customers and clients. So when you think about that first, that number one, that foundational pillar, think about it as a pillar, mastering the foundations of a successful practice. We have to have a strategy and a plan. And then we have to be committed to executing that strategy or plan. Number two is productivity and efficiency. I'm going to unpack quite a bit in this number two: productivity and efficiency. First question, what is your time worth? What is your time worth? So if I ask you, what is your time worth? How would you respond? And then number two, where do you allocate your time? So first of all, what is my time worth? Number two, where do I allocate my time? Here are two critical habit changes that will help you become the agent you're meant to be. Number one is we need to invest our time and our energy towards our goals. Now that seems pretty simplistic, or it makes a lot of sense, right? Well, we want to invest our time and our energy towards our goals. So if you want to increase your impact, you have to invest your resources. So what are our resources? Part of them, it's our money, how we're investing, but part of it's our time and part of it's our energy. And we want to invest those resources strategically in the direction of our goals. Too many times we're just random. We're all over the place. We're scattered. So we need to be strategic about how we're investing our resources, our time, our money, and our energy. And we want to invest those things in the direction of our goals. So when you think about resources, I want you to think about investing, not just spending. Spending is an even trade. Now we have to spend some money to turn the lights on and to buy paper and to put ink in the copier and all those sorts of things. But I want you to think about resources in terms of investing, not just spending, because spending is an even trade. Spending is an even trade. Investing should give you an exponential return on what you put in. It's not an even trade. So if I invest $1 into my business, I want a fourfold return. And there's been studies done on this, the $1 Million Roundtable, they've done studies on investing. If you invest $1 into your practice, not spend $1, but invest $1, you should receive a fourfold return. There should be $4 coming back in your coffers. And that's what I mean by exponential. So investing and spending are not the same thing. And so here's a question. This isn't in your handout, but here's a question I want to pose to you. What area of your practice is creating the most momentum right now? So if you think about your business, your practice, what area of your practice right now is creating the most momentum? And then a follow-up is, could you shift resources from low yield areas to high yield areas? A lot of times we don't even think about these things. Why? Because we're trapped in the whirlwind of our day job, all the stuff we have to get done. And so, what area of our practice is creating the most momentum right now? And then could you shift resources from low yield areas to high yield areas? So is there a new strategy that would help jumpstart momentum? And I'm gonna give you just a few examples. So when you think about a new strategy, something new that maybe would kickstart momentum. Well, one, could we target a new market or a new niche of your existing market? So as you look at your existing market, could we target something new or a niche within our existing market that may be helpful, that may be beneficial? Another idea would be, could we create an incentive program for people in our market who use our services? So would there be anything that we could do to incent people? I'm just throwing out a few ideas here to kind of maybe get your the juices flowing. So creating an incentive program. Another one, could we offer existing customers additional products or services? So are we doing enough within the households that we're working with? Are we putting as large a fence around their affairs as possible? Or are we selling one product in there and then are we moving on? And so the more that we can drill down and create more opportunities within each pocketbook or household, we're serving that customer better. We're serving ourselves better as well. Could we offer or could we create a referral program? Is there a referral program that we could create that would actually incentivize our referrers, the people that are actually waving our flag? That may be a center of influence. You may have a select group of advocates within your practice or great clients. Is there anything we could do from a referral program to incentivize those people so that we're more top of mind, awareness? Could we streamline our sales process? Is there anything that we could do within our sales process that would help us become more effective? Could we streamline that? And again, I'm just throwing some ideas out. Another one is evaluating your online presence, search engines, Google, Face, all of those things. So making sure we're top of mind as we run our online presence. Another one, interview our customers. Find out why new customers are choosing to do business with you. That's valuable information. And the last, maybe study the data. Have your metrics changed over time? So as you look at running your practice, do you have the data so you can make informed decisions? That's really, really important. Have any metrics changed over time? Have key markets dropped or grown? Well, if we're not studying the data and if we're not aware of these things, we're not going to know. So those are just a few examples of some maybe some strategies or some initiatives that you can think about. There's 3 questions that will help you change your mindset about investing. One is, how do I best invest my time? Number 2 is, who should I be investing in? And number 3, where do I get my best return? Those 3 questions will change your mindset about investing. How do I best invest my time? That's important. Then who should I be investing in? And then number 3, where do I get my best return? Anyone have a thought or a question on that? Anything I've covered up to this point? Silas, any thoughts come to mind?
Sorry, I just stuck an apple in my mouth right as you asked me that. Um, no, I do think this is the time of year where a lot of this is very applicable. I know with my team, I've been encouraging them to just realign, reassess, look back, figure out what they want to do, and then begin to, set the stage for that. And so some of these questions that you're working your way through, I think are very, very pertinent this time of year for agents who are filling out goals and game plans, building out their business plan for this year. And I just encourage everybody in the call, if you're not doing that, that is absolutely something that top agents do and that top business owners do. And so this is, I think sometimes this can seem kind of fluffy and maybe some agents feel like, oh, I don't need to do this, but building out the process and building out the plan and then tracking the metrics that are most important. We have some things that we track in our business we call critical measures of success, and they're just the most important data points that we need to be tracking. So I think a lot of this is in alignment with that.
Yeah, and if anybody has a question or a comment, just raise your hand. Silas can unmute you, or maybe you can unmute yourself. But back to those 2 critical habit changes. One, the first one, again, invest your time and energy towards your goals. Investing is different than spending. Spending is an even trade. Investing is an exponential return. The second thing is focus on inspiring the people around you. So most people use the words motivate and inspire interchangeably. So when we hear the word motivate, we hear the word inspire. A lot of people, they use those words interchangeably. And while both are important, there's a difference. There's a difference between those 2 words. And what's the difference? So motivation is typically an external force, and that it's going to move me towards some desired action. It's going to move me towards an action. So if I'm motivated, it's an external force that's going to move me towards an action. If I'm motivated to get fit, I'm going to be motivated. I'm going to move towards certain actions. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get a workout regimen. It's an external force that's going to move me towards an action. And that's important. Inspiration, though, comes from within. So our goal isn't just to motivate our clients, our customers. Can you imagine putting yourself in a position to actually inspire them? Because we can't motivate people for very long. I've got to be motivated to do what it is that I need to do, and all of you do as well. But inspiration really comes from within. So our goal isn't just to motivate. Our goal is also to inspire ourselves and our clients, other people, our team, our team members. Inspiration is a whole different thing. And so it comes through many different leadership traits. So when we think about inspiration, or the word inspire, and I'm going to give you a few and explain to you what I mean, because all of you are leaders. You're leading your practice, you're leading your customers, you're leading your clients. So I don't want you to think about, well, I'm really not a leader, I'm an agent. No, you are a leader. And I want all of you to think about yourself that way. So one of those traits is optimism. So inspiration comes, again, through many different traits. One is optimism. What is that? Well, optimism is living with a positive outlook. And boy, we can get beat up in this business. It's a grind. I had a coaching call yesterday, and and we talked 15 minutes about, man, I'm losing my way, and it just, it's the routine and it's the grind. Well, we have to maintain a positive outlook in the face of some of this, because it can be a grind. We can get worn down. Another one is humility, and that's developing a posture of interest in other people. When your customers, your clients, you want them to know that you have a posture of interest in them. That's meaningful to them. So that's what I mean by humility. Another one is direction setting. What do I mean by that? Well, it's really casting that captivating vision. Do you have a vision for your business, where you are today and where you want to go? Can you look out over the horizon, and can you see where you want to take this? So that direction setting is all about that vision, casting that captivating vision. Appreciation is all about being generous. Being generous with recognition. Are you recognizing your clients, your customers? Are you recognizing when one of your team members hits a milestone, and telling them, way to go? This business is tough. It can be lonely, as at times, right, Dan? I see Dan up in my right hand, way up in the top. Dan, you're up in my top right hand corner. But it can be lonely. Those of you who have been in this for any length of time, and so that recognition is really, really important. And then the last one is empathy. What is empathy? Well, it's listening, with consistent care. So do you listen to your customers, to your clients? Can you put yourself in their position? Can you walk in their shoes? And then activities. Activities, it's so important that, again, that's where the heavy lifting takes place. So what are you not doing that you should be doing? So when it relates to activities, the execution of the day in and day out activities, what are you not doing that you should be doing? What do you need to do better? And then where do you have gaps? So what are you not doing that you should be doing? What do you need to do better? Because those things you'll be addressing, where are the gaps in my business? Where are the gaps in my practice? Because that's where you're going to get your lift. So when we can shore up those gaps in our practice, that's where we're going to get our lift. And then operational systems. This is all under, that foundational pillar number 2, which is productivity and efficiency. So I haven't gone to 3 yet. So there's a lot under number 2, productivity and efficiency. It includes your operational systems. So are your operational systems and procedures, are they refined? And I hazard to say that for most of us, they're really not as refined as they could be or should be. And that's okay, but we need to address that. So the systems and the processes, the procedures that we have in place to run our business, do we have a playbook? Are they refined? Because we have to create the intentional systems that help support, sustain, and propel our business forward. And so we all have systems. Silas has more systems than all of you on this call combined. I'm kidding, but he has a lot of systems, and that's why he's successful. Rick has a lot of systems that he has to employ to run the territory. Can you imagine just flying by the seat of your pants all the time? It'd be chaos. And so we have to make sure that we have the intentional systems that are going to support our efforts, that will sustain them and propel us forward. And so we all have systems either by default or by design. Now, you want to be on the design side of that equation, because if you're running your business by default, you're going to have so many things falling through the cracks. And so what more can you do to build efficiencies into your business? That's a key question that you have to ask yourself. Where am I at as it relates to operational systems? And then technology, voice, Zoom, video, LinkedIn. What more can you do to automate the customer and the client experience? Are there things that you can do to really automate the experience that your clients have in dealing with you? So when you think about technology, I'm not a great technology person. I didn't grow up with a lot of this. I've had to learn some things. But when I retired from the position I held for many, many years, The only thing that was compliant approved was LinkedIn. We couldn't use Facebook, Google. We couldn't, because companies were scared to death back then. So they finally, we got LinkedIn approved, and that was about it. All of you need to be so much better when it comes to the social media and the technology aspects of running your business. So think about technology is the science. Science is the technology, but it's not to replace, it's to supplement. Technology supplements high touch, because your customers and your clients, they still want to deal with you. You will not be replaced by technology, because most people want that human interaction. But we need to use technology to supplement high touch. Dan, do you have a thought or a question or a comment on that? Dan Black, anything come to mind there?
Um,
You're kind of an old dog like me, so you didn't grow up with some of this stuff. Dan, you're on mute.
can you hear me now?
There, I can hear you.
We're going through a little bit of a transition here in our office. It's been driven by external forces. We've always tried to be a high touch with our existing clients and helping them process after the sale. But more and more, the carriers are not allowing us to do that for them. So we're having to re-educate our clients on how to do it for themselves, which adds a little bit of friction when they call and they say, hey, can you do this on this? Can you cancel or update this policy or my information?
Sure.
So we're going through that, trying to figure out how to make that a more an enjoyable experience for our clients. But at the same time, we're moving Kelly to much more of a sales role versus an administrative role.
Okay.
Because part of her job that she's done for the last 2 years is truly going away. So what we've been talking about is what systems do we have in place to help our new clients understand what they need to do, and then re-educate our existing clients of what they have to do moving forward.
That's great. That's great. Anyone else have a thought or a comment on that? If not, we'll go to number 3. Number 3 is client experience. So when you think again, mastering the 6 foundations. Number 3, client experience. And that's all about shifting your focus from customer service, which is reacting, and we need to do that, to customer experience, which is initiating. And so when we want to have a good strategy, a great deployment strategy around customer service, because we need to have that. But typically that we're reacting to a question, a comment, maybe they're upset, whatever that may be. They can't find their card or the 800. They're going to call you, and we've got to be able to deal with that. But as much as possible, you want to shift your focus from customer service to customer experience, because that you're initiating there. And so what is your scheduled deployment and strategy around customer experience? Do you have one? Initiating, that's outreach on our part. So what does that look like? What's your scheduled deployment and strategy around that? And I'm here to tell you, the bar is low there. You can win this space. The bar is so low when it comes to customer experience. There's been studies and research done on this. And so what can you do to enhance that experience? As Dan was saying, enhance, educate, enhance the experience your customers are having and working with you. And so while no one owns the customer, you want to own the customer experience. You want to own that experience they're having and working with you, because no one owns that customer. But what you want to do is put yourself in a position so that you're owning that customer experience. So when they think about you, you go right to the head of the class. And how do you do that? You do that by giving them a differentiated and an enhanced experience. in dealing in working with you, because that's what they remember. If it's all the same, it all runs together. Not that you don't answer their questions and everything, but if it's not differentiated, they'll forget it quickly. They'll forget it. They'll dismiss it very quickly. And so that client experience, that number 3 in terms of the 6 foundational mastering, that's really important. And think about it as experience, not just service. Anyone have a thought or a comment there? Do most of you have a strategy that you can deploy around client experience? Silas, would you, I mean, I'll ask you, would you feel that we're doing a pretty good job there?
Some agents are, some agents aren't, right? We're working, I know in my personal practice, we're working to get better and better at this. We are trying to have quarterly touch points with at least all of our clients via email, just, following up with a summary of benefits or additional pieces of their product that they may not understand or be actively using. I know a lot of us too, I've had some conversations here in recent weeks around how do we use July, August, September to engage with our consumers in an attempt to not have such a bottleneck during the fourth quarter and during the AEP,
Sure.
OEP season. I think many of us, as we grow our books of business, it becomes a bigger and bigger issue on how do we manage that during a condensed time frame. And I think the general consensus is obviously we can leverage technology on one hand, but a big piece of it is getting in front of these clients, in July, August, September, and having those conversations, setting things up, gathering the information that we need so that we are prepared when we get into the crunch time where we can spend a lot less time with each individual client because we've already had those conversations previously in the year. So that, I know for me, as we build out bandwidth and try to expand, that's one of the biggest things that I'm trying to wrap my head around and figure out. How do we leverage technology? And then how do we use the rest of year to really set ourselves up for success during that fourth quarter?
And that's great to use because it's not as busy now as it is during open enrollment, OEP, AEP. So what can you be doing now to set the table, so to speak, as you roll into that? You can be working on some of these things, your unique value proposition, your operation, all of these things that we're talking about. Number 4 is branding and
Hey,
marketing.
Cliff, really, can I,
You bet.
on the client experience,
You bet.
this is something I've been doing for about the last month, is just evaluating the whole entire client experience, from how they get to me, what the touch points are, how the phone is answered, texts and emails they get before an appointment, what the appointment experience is like, and then also what the post experience is like. Like we just started a process of creating videos to send them for their birthdays and stuff like that. We've been doing birthday cards. We want to take it up a notch and do little quick videos that we can send them for thank yous, for birthdays, for reach out for AEP, OEP, just to keep enhancing the client experience, to stay ahead of any other competition that may be in the area. And then also hopefully that leads to then referrals because of the experience that we're taking them through.
That's huge. I love that. I mean, I picked up something right there that today on that call. Just okay, how do we take that and move that up the ladder, so to speak, and that short video? I mean, people aren't doing that. So there again, you become memorable. It's remembered. They're not going to dismiss that or forget that. Not that they don't appreciate a card on their birthday or whatever, but those cards going 2-3 days later, where does that end up? In the trash can, right? It doesn't mean that they don't appreciate it, but what can we do to even enhance that, take it up? So when it comes to number 4, branding and marketing, what's your strategy for converting customers into clients and clients into advocates, raving fans? Most agents, they're running for the next sale. We're busy and it's noisy and it's chaotic, and we're not spending enough time working on our business because we're immersed in it 24/7. And I guarantee you that if you don't spend some time working on your craft, on your business, strategy, reflection, planning, you will hit a plateau. You will hit a plateau and you will not be able to take your practice any further. We have to step back and think about, what is my strategy? I have all these customers. Can I convert some of them into a client, and then in a select number of those into true advocates, raving fans? Perception is so critically important. How are you perceived by your best customers and your best clients? Because how they perceive you is how they describe you to someone else. And do you know? Most agents don't know. Well, I think I know. I would hope that they would say these things, but do we truly know? How do you find out? You ask the right questions. Not of everybody, not of, but your best customers, your best clients, you want to be engaged with them, and you want to ask them, how am I doing? That's your report card. Perspective. What's their perspective? You know, perspective is so important as well. It's not what you do that matters.
Good
It's
afternoon,
what
this
your
is Dean.
customer values the most that matters.
Good,
And we
Alicia.
think what we do matters, right? And what we do does matter, but at the end of the day, it's what our customer values the most that truly matters the most. And so again, that written in video, a testimonial, those things can be so powerful. Why? Because it increases the magnitude of your impact. Someone else is waving your flag. So if you can get some of your very best clients to write a testimonial, and I know a lot of you have done this, and you have them out there on Facebook and things, or taking that up another notch, a short video testimonial. Why is that important? Because it increases the magnitude of your impact. Someone else is waving your flag. That's why the magnitude of that impact is so much greater, because it's not you saying how great I am. It's your best clients saying, this is what Gary and Silas and Rick and Tyler and Derek, some of you I know, this is what they've done for me. So that's where you build advocacy. So you want to engineer an environment, and we have to work on this. This doesn't happen by accident. So what you want to do is you want to engineer an environment where your customers are compelled to talk about you and what you do. Man, how powerful is that? They're compelled. You want to engineer that, and you're not going to do that with all your customers. You don't have to. Because for 20 plus years, I track this. Now, Silas has probably tracked it close to that long, but I tracked it. In other words, what is a true advocate worth in my business? And it's worth 7 to 8 referrals every year, year over year, because they think about you and what you do, even when you're not with them. They wave your flag. They're thinking about you and what you do. And so there's a rule of 52. Maybe I've shared this with some of you, but the rule of 52 basically says this: most people have within their inner circle 52 relationships. Family, friends, coworkers, church members, whatever that may be. Some have more, some have less, but on average, we have about 52 relationships kind of inside of our circle. And so what I want you to do, the rule of 52 says this. So let's just use an example. The math is the same, whether you have 100 clients, customers, or 1,000, the math's the same. So let's just assume, for some of you that have been doing this for a while, you have 300. You have, in your CRM, you have 300 customers. What I want you to do is take 20% of that 300. That's 60. And then I want you to take 20% of 60, which is 12. So if you have 300 customers inside of your CRM, inside of your file cabinets, you have right now 12. You have the potential to go get 12 advocates right now. 300, 20% of 300 is 60, 20% of 60 is 12. Right now, you have 12 advocates sitting inside your CRM. Now, if they're not advocating for you, you just haven't gone through the right steps to make them a true advocate. Think about that. I just created a target market for all of you, because those 12 people have within their inner circle about 52 relationships. trusting relationships. People value their opinion. They interface with these people. They go to church with them. They hang out with them. All these things. So you take 52 times 12 and you've got 600 and some people right there inside of your file cabinets, inside of your CRM. So what we have to do is we have to create a deployment strategy around converting those people to true advocates. So they're thinking about you and what you do, even when you're not with them. This is powerful because we don't need to be lead dependent. Now, there's nothing wrong with turning on your phone and accepting live transfers and getting third-party leads. You want to do that. It's a supplement. But we want to build our practice through referability and through advocacy. You don't have to be buying leads, 20 years from now. What if that all of a sudden would dry up or change, or the governmental intervention? Who knows what could happen? Your best opportunities are going to come from your best client relationships. That's never going to change. Silas, you have a thought on that? Do you agree? I guess we can debate this, but we don't have time to debate it. But this stuff works.
Right. No, I totally agree with you. And I think, for a lot of our new agents, especially getting started, we recommend that they build a list of people that they're going to communicate with. We call it the center of influence list. But it's people who know you, like you, and would like to see you be successful. And if you haven't identified who those people are in your personal life, your business life, your church life, to me, those are the kind of people you want to reach out to, and not try to sell them insurance, but just ask for their referral. Let them know what you're doing and give them the capability of referring you. And then I think alongside that, we really teach and train agents that you've got to have a list of key business contacts that you're communicating with. Christy's on the call. I see she's my client manager, and she's helped me for the last 10 years build out a list of people that are financial planners, CPAs, attorneys, property and casualty insurance agents. They're in positions of power at companies. They're HR professionals. These are the types of people that refer business to us. And they may not be clients of ours, but they're people that we want to continue to engage with consistently and continue to promote ourselves as the local expert in what we do, because the amount of referrals that come from them are just unbelievable. And once you get to the point that you're leveraging those centers of influence, the key professionals in your life, you can get to a place in this business where it's 100% referral driven. I know Gary's in that position. I know many other top agents on the call today are in that position where we don't meet with somebody unless they're referred to us. And when they're referred to us, it's a uniquely different experience because they're willing to wait in line for you. You're not competing with anybody else, and they have a different context of who you are and what you're going to deliver. It's next level stuff when it comes to running a successful practice.
Yeah, that's great. We'll move on to 5 and 6. Hopefully we'll have a few minutes at the end for a couple of thoughts or questions. Number 5 is client success. What do I mean by client success? What do you manage? So if I ask you the question, what do you manage? How would you respond? Well, one way is to say, I manage people and I manage relationships. That's really what I manage in this business. I manage people, I manage relationships. And so when you think about client success and what you manage, I want you to think about this. What would it look like if you outsourced or delegated the commoditized aspects of your business as much as you can? Because at some point, that's what you need to do. Now, some of you that are newer, you're just getting started, so you've got to do everything. Your chief cook and bottle washer, you kind of have to do it all. But at some point, you want to put yourself in a position, because what are you paid the most to do? Manage people and manage relationships. You want to be client-centric, client interfacing, customer interfacing as much as possible. And so to do that, we have to outsource or delegate the commoditized aspects of our business as much as we can. And so ask yourself, what can you give away? So as an agent right now, sitting in this meeting on this call, are there things that I could give to someone else? Is there a task or a responsibility that someone else should be doing this for me? They can probably do it even better than me. And so what can I give to someone else? The lifeblood of your growth is the loyalty of your top customers. That's the lifeblood of your growth. It's the loyalty of your top clients, your top customers. And so what are you doing to differentiate and enhance that customer experience? Again, back to enhancing. You want to create a playbook of what your top customers can expect. And so do you have that playbook? So if I walked into your office and I said, look, I'd like to see your playbook for how you're dealing and interfacing back to that client, that customer experience, what does that look like? And do your best customers know what they can expect from you? Again, it gets noisy, it gets busy. We got so much to do. But what does that process look like? Do we have that refined? Do we have that down? And then number 6 is team dynamics. Your team dynamics. Nothing great was ever accomplished alone. We can't do this by ourselves. And so if you don't empower other people, what happens, and I've shared this with Gary and with Silas, what happens? We become the lid. We become the lid within our practice. So we can't do it alone. So at some point we have to empower other people to walk with us. So to achieve order, to scale up, we need consistency. I talk about the 3 Ps, which are preparation, process, and people. We need all 3 of those. Preparation, process, and people. That's our team. Have they bought in? So a lot of you have a team. Maybe right now, maybe if you're newer at this, you're in your first couple of years, maybe you have a part-time support person. So maybe they're with you 20 hours a week. We start somewhere. We have to start somewhere. But your team, have they bought in to who you are and what your mission is and where you're going? And so do they have a sense of purpose as it relates to your team, to the team that they're a part of? So when you take one responsibility, one task, and you trust someone to oversee that, so Christy, I'm going to give this to you and I want you to oversee this. This is yours. I'm empowering you to take this, to do this. What does that do? What does that do? And I've shared this with Silas and Gary. They're in a study group of mine. What does that do? When Gary takes a task or responsibility and he gives that to someone to own, there are 4 things that happen as a result of that. Number 1, that person, whoever that is, they're going to feel valued. Man, I can't believe Gary he's entrusting me to do this. So number 1, they feel valued. Number 2, they will grow as a result of that. Maybe they're not quite ready to take that on, but what are they going to do as a result? They're going to grow. They're going to grow. Number 3, you're free to focus elsewhere. How do we pay ourselves? What do we pay ourselves to do? We manage relationships. We manage people. And so now our time is freed up to focus elsewhere. And number 4, your team is going to become stronger as a result. And so what you want to do is you want to create an environment where an environment and an empowering culture. That's the goal. You want to create an empowering culture and an environment with your team. What are their dreams and what are their aspirations? Yeah, and do you know? Are they carrying the same message forward that you are? And so you want to create that environment where the team wins. We win together. It's huge. And so some of you that aren't there yet, you'll get there with your team. Because again, nothing great was ever accomplished alone. And so those are kind of the 6 things I wanted to cover today. The mastering the foundation. We just keep working on these things. We get a little bit better, incremental improvement, 1 step at a time. So I'm going to open it up, Silas, Rick, for any thoughts, questions. We covered a lot of ground today, but as you think about the new year, you're 5 weeks into this new year. The sky's the limit. You can accomplish whatever you set out to accomplish this year, but we've got to have a plan. We've got to have a strategy. And then we have to have a commitment around the execution of what's in that playbook, in that plan, that strategy. So I'll open it up. We have a couple minutes, 2, 3, 4 minutes left.
The
Thought?
other thing I'd say, Cliff, is I know, I get to this point in every year, and if I'm not finalized with my goals and my game plan and my strategy, I'm starting to get a little bit panicky, right? this is the time of year where it's time. I mean, it's time to wrap things up. It's time to wrap up. What is your plan this year? What are you going to accomplish? And get it down on paper and get that plan in place. I'm working to finalize mine in the next 7 to 10 days. I'm hoping to have things really crystallized so that I can share that with my team. And whoever your team is, whoever your accountability partners are, whoever your business partners are, I think it's really important to share those goals and game plan and what strategy you're going to embrace for the rest of the year with them. So I would press on everybody, at least on my team for sure, a little bit. If you haven't done that yet and finalize that, it's time. We got to get this done because it's time to start executing and delivering on the goals we want to hit for the year. So
Awesome. Any other questions or on anything I covered today or a comment? We've got a couple, just have a couple minutes left.
Hey Cliff, I rose my hand earlier, but I didn't want to, you had a lot of good tidbits coming out and I didn't want to interject right in the middle of it, but as I look at when we were talking about the perception and how are you perceived and that kind of thing, I feel like, and I think most of you guys would agree, everybody wants a survey. Like you go to the doctor, you get some gas, you go, like everybody wants a survey of how things are done nowadays. I think that through COVID, that was just one way of trying to track customer service and satisfaction and all those kinds of things. So I have tried to, get people to do Google reviews and stuff like that. I feel like it kind of goes against my grain because I don't like to ask for that kind of stuff, but I had even kind of thought about even like a monkey survey after I've done certain transactions, maybe an annual thing or something like that, and saying, how did you feel that this process went, or just randomly sending out something like, like what the other gentleman had shared, how did when you first met me, what was your perception, and then how did you feel that the booking process went, how did you feel that the follow-up process, and that kind of thing, to get more specific feedback than a Google review where people can go, yeah, you're awesome, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. And people do get surveyed to death. So you just want to be strategic and how often and when. But I think it's important because you'd rather know than not know.
Right.
I would rather know than not know. And sometimes we have to ask and have to have surveys. But when you think about building a practice based on referability, because that's your litmus test, how am I doing? And the survey that Survey Monkey or whatever you use. But every single as you build advocacy within your business, there's, and I've given you these questions, I think maybe before in one of our sessions, but they're powerful. And so you can ask these questions to any one of your clients, your customers, your clients, especially as and I think I had in the handout, your practice segmentation. And I didn't touch on that. It's after the rule of 52. Practice segmentation is taking your entire book of business and determining who are your platinum customers. And I've asked this question all the time, and agents don't know. Well, how many do you have? Well, I think it's random. They don't really know. So taking practice segmentation and saying, okay, who are my platinum? Who are my gold? Who are my silver? And really determining through your CRM, who are your very, very best clients and customers, because they should be treated differently. Not that we don't love everybody, but you have to have a deployment strategy around that experience that your best clients are having with you, because those are the ones that you can build advocacy with. 4 key questions. Number 1, why did you choose me over other people? That's the first question. If I'm going to sit down with Gary and have a meaningful conversation, and he's one of my best clients, I already know how he feels about me. He trusts me. He believes in me. But for whatever reason, rarely, if ever, does Gary refer. And so I've got to build this advocacy into that. Part of it, because I know he trusts me, he doesn't think about it. Or maybe he feels I'm not taking on new clients. I've been doing this for a number of years and I have more business than I can write. Why did you choose me over other people? Question 1. Question 2, what's the one thing that my team does for you? or that I do for you that you place the greatest value on? I want to know what that is, because guess what? If he places great value on whatever that is, all the other people that look like Gary that he travels with, they're going to place the same high value on things that are very similar. It starts to run together. This is data that's really important. Question 3, Gary, if I could do one thing that would enhance the experience you have in working with me and my team, what would that be? And number 4, how do you want me to approach the subject of referrals without compromising our relationship? Those are the 4 questions. And that will open up the opportunity for you to move a customer to a client and some of your best clients to true advocacy status. And so why do true advocates refer? There's psychology behind this. We talked about this, I think, a month ago on building a practice based on referability. They refer because they care enough about someone that they want to put that person in your path. They want to put that person in front of you. Not that they don't want to help you grow your business, but that's not the primary reason why they do it. You have given them such an experience that's memorable, that's valuable. They know other people that they love and care about, that they want to put those people in your path. Now, secondarily, they want to help you grow your business, but that's not the primary reason they refer. You've given them such an experience, a value-added, a differentiated experience. They know other people that they say, you know what, I need to get Gary and Silas in front of Michelle. That's why they do it. The psychology. There's just psychology behind this whole aspect of referability, because why do people not refer? They don't want to put themselves in a compromising position with somebody they know. What is Silas going to think of me we got to get rid of that garbage, because it's just garbage. But we have to address it and understand the psychology behind why people don't refer. So Silas, we're bumping up on time. This has been great. This has been great. I love this group. I value our time each month. Do me that favor, if you could just invite a person so we can continue to build this. I'm working on a lesson next month on the extraordinary power of resilience. The entire lesson is going to be around that one word, because we have to have a healthy dose of resilience to be successful in this business. The extraordinary power of resilience. So invite somebody to be a part of this.
And just so you guys know, that'll be May 8th. So Wednesday, May 8th will be the second Wednesday. So we'll reconvene at that time. Cliff, thanks for being here. For everybody who's joined us, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Hope you have a great week. Enjoy
thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We'll see ya.
See you, buddy.